The nice part is every team in my division is good, so
Right.
I'll end up with another good pick this year.
Mute that.
Pull up the stream just in case people ask questions.
Yep. There we go.
Okay.
Pull up my questions.
Let's see. You just want to let's see what we got to do this week besides the usual BS. Okay. Do you want to just start out with strikes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
And we got a couple guys in here. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. We're just gonna play some Destiny while we answer the questions. Just so it's not just us looking at the Madden background. So, I'm Kyle. Sam's here again. So,
What's up,
uh, we've
everybody?
got we've got a lot of questions and a lot of in-depth things to. Shut up, Kevin. Um, uh, a lot of in-depth things to look at. So, yeah, I really appreciate all the questions that you guys sent in, and yeah, so
Yep.
we'll start out. Oh,
Casual
go ahead.
Friday edition of
Yeah,
the pod. And if you guys have any questions in the Slack or in the Twitch chat, feel free to fire away and we'll get to them kind of in the moment or maybe once we're done with everybody else's questions.
so for sure. So first up, we've got Lee with the Colts sent in 7 questions. So his first question is the early breakout players for this season. So Sam, you want to go ahead and give? I did 2 offensive and 2 defensive. I don't know how many you brought.
Yeah, so I did 3. I did 2
Okay.
offense and 1 defense. So my first one is Ronald Jones with the
Okay.
Bucks.
Well, good. Good. Good.
By the way, it's Void
That's
Singe for the
oh,
strikes.
good. Good. I'm running my void class anyway, so.
Um, Jones already has over 500 yards on the season. He's leading the league in rushing. Only has 2 touchdowns, but it is averaging 6.1 yards a carry to go along with 176 receiving yards. And he's really carrying this Bucks offense. Tom Brady has been fine, but he's 45 or 44 at this point in the game. Um, so Jones has definitely stepped it up, and you could kind of see it last year as well. He was a little inconsistent last year. Like he would have some big games where he would have like 150 yards rushing, but then he would have games where he only has like 60. So this year he's done a lot better being consistent.
For sure, and I had Jones as my first offensive player. I played him week 1. He went off for 200 yards against me. But he was unstoppable on the ground against us. Everything he ripped off was 5, 6, 7 yards. Um, my other offensive player is Paris Campbell with
That's a good one.
258 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns through 4 games. He only had, I think it was 3 touchdowns last season. So just a guy who's put on a lot more with Drew Lock coming into that offense, and I think that's a huge part of it, is Drew Lock being there.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why I chose Drew Lock as my other offensive player.
he
Uh,
was
yeah,
up
you're
there
gonna get a
for me.
lot of Drew Lock tonight from me. He already has over 1,100 passing yards. If I remember correctly, he's leading the AFC in passing. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completing 66% of his passes. We kind of talked in the first pod, really with the Colts, kind of their expectations for the upcoming season, and it really began with Drew Lock. And so far, that trade has definitely, I would say, paid off. I know the Colts, the record isn't great, but it's definitely not Drew Lock's fault. He's definitely not turning the ball over as much at the beginning of this year as he was at the beginning of last year. So I'd still like the Colts to win this division, even with the slow start.
Yeah, I agree. Locks looked really, really good from the little bit I've watched of Lee's streams. He's been definitely less erratic with the ball. So yeah, I think that's a really good one. My first defensive player, I just want to ask, which rookie do you think is leading the league in sacks, if you had to guess?
It's the kid for Philly,
Okay.
Atkinson or something like that.
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson,
Which
yeah.
definitely wouldn't have been my first pick for who would be, I would have thought Timon or, at the least,
Yeah,
someone like that. But
maybe
yeah.
Russo for the Raiders, but I don't even know.
Right.
If he's even, who knows if he's even starting for
Right.
Nolta.
So yeah, I went with Aiden Hutchinson as my first defensive player. Just somebody who is way overperforming where he was drafted.
Yep, for sure.
So good on Ryan, and we'll talk more about the Eagles later. We have an Eagles-specific question.
I'm very excited about it. I really can't wait.
So who's your first defensive player?
So I chose
your defensive
J.J.
player?
Watt. Now with the Bengals.
I also
one?
looked at JJ. No, but I
Okay.
looked at JJ.
Yeah.
He was definitely somebody who caught my eye with how good he's been early in the season.
Yeah, and now playing with the Bengals coming over from the Texans, one of those. I really like what Cerulio has done this season with that Cincinnati squad. It would have been really easy for him to say, "Look, I'm in a division with the Ravens and the Steelers. It would be and the Browns. It would be really easy for me to kind of roll over and just kind of prepare. Like bring Joe Burrow along slowly. There's no need to try to be good right now, but he's made some really smart moves over the first two seasons for this year, and I think it's definitely paying off. So I chose J.J. Watt, who's having a good season so far.
Yeah, so my second one, which you didn't pick a second one, is Alexander Johnson, the middle linebacker for the Broncos. Not huge tackle numbers, but he's had 3 interceptions, and he only had, I think, 1 all of last season. Third-year guy, 79 overall star. I think he's a guy who, on this weak Broncos defense, could end up being a huge part.
That's a good one.
So,
Moving on to question 2 from Lee. Who is the most unexpected rookie success story so far? So I have 2. They're both
I do as well.
So the first
they are
one
also both quarters.
So my first one is De'Aaron King for the Bills.
Okay.
He has 800,
I respect that.
Yeah, he has 859 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, nothing that really catches your eye. But he has 300 rushing yards already. And I believe he leads the Bills in passing and rushing. So he's really just been that entire offense. Also has 1 rushing touchdown. So it's been really nice to see, him not turning the ball over that much. I know the Bills are planning for the future, and we kind of criticized them a little bit, thinking that this roster was built more to win now. Instead, he kind of is going in the other direction, which is fine. But I think De'Aaron King was a really smart pick at QB.
Yeah. So my first one is Brock Purdy. I just, even with the talent around him, he was the 4th quarterback picked, and I didn't expect him to be the best quarterback so far of the guys who were picked. And I think he is without a doubt the best quarterback in the rookie class right now. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. The 49ers are undefeated, so I think that's huge. and I had mentioned in the CM chat before that I thought Chris would get a quarterback. I didn't think he would get Purdy. I thought for sure Purdy would be gone by now.
Right,
but
for sure.
Chris did a great job trading up to get him, and I think that he's a legitimate Super Bowl contender with Purdy, which is part of the reason that he's the most surprising rookie, for one of the most unexpected successes for me. Because I thought maybe they'd be 2-2, 1-1.
Yeah. So my second one's also Purdy.
Okay.
Yeah. The big thing for me is the 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. There are a couple quarterbacks that have better passing yards than Purdy, but no one can touch him in the turnover department or his completion percentage.
Right.
He doesn't scramble as much as Brock Purdy does in real life at Iowa State, which was a little surprising. I believe he only has like 12 yards rushing on the year. But I mean, you can't argue with the results, like you said. Chris is undefeated. I'm with you. I think he's a legit Super Bowl contender. He's definitely a force in that NFC West division, especially with Roy's team kind of stumbling coming out of the gates. So I think I'm not going to say a lot to win the division. I think they're a lot to make the playoffs, and I'm with you. I think they're super dangerous.
Yep. And so my second one isn't D'Eriq King, but it is another quarterback who we questioned the pick in our first mock, or our first review. It's Desmond Ridder for the Texans, and he's hurt right now. But at the time when he got hurt, he had thrown 4 touchdowns to no interceptions. And that's not a good Texans team, and he had them. Nope. He had them undefeated. They ended up losing to us after Tyrod had to come in. But on the whole, the Texans quarterbacks have thrown 1 interception to, I think it was 8 or 9 touchdowns when I looked. So a really good start.
That's another good one. That's another good one. Honestly, him being hurt is the only reason I didn't pick him. That's why I went with D'Eriq King, but I totally get. Oh, hello,
for sure.
You got your marshmallow?
We can use the crystals to
go get it.
So I saw Ridder in person. I was the one who ended up hurting him, but that Texans team was rolling early in that game, and we're probably going to win that game before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So for our third question from Lee, we have, what type of player do you see Drew Lock being in 5 years?
I'll let you go first on this one.
I think he is a mid-tier starter. Not great, but not bad. But definitely somebody who, with the right team around him, can win a Super Bowl.
So I have him as a top 10 QB and leading the Colts to multiple divisional titles is where I have him.
I definitely could see that.
I just don't. For me, it's all about the rest of the division. I think he's already the best QB in the AFC South, and I don't think it's particularly close.
Right. Well, the other guys are old.
Yeah, like Stafford's there right now, and like you could say I know I think he has a better overall. Stafford does, but this is probably Stafford's last year of being good.
Right.
So I think with this division, especially like with Cam at Jacksonville, like he's whatever. And then, I know we like the Texans rookie, but like how good can a 60 overall guy really get, especially getting hurt in your first season? So,
right, for sure.
So I've been pretty high on Drew Lock since the league started, so I'm going to continue that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I agree. I don't think that there's any reason that he couldn't end up as a top 10 QB. It all depends on how well he devs over the next couple seasons, but that's definitely one possibility where he could end up in the top 10, and I think that. But I think without a doubt he's the best quarterback in that division, and I think they have the biggest upside.
Next question is, what offensive scheme do you think is the best this Madden and why? So I kind of broke it down here into 2 parts. The first part is scheme and playbook, and honestly, I think you can go in a couple different directions here. I know a couple of guys still use that spread scheme, and that seems to work okay. I see quite a few teams running either like multiple power run or like vertical zone run. So I think you can use 3 or 4 schemes and be okay. And then playbooks, it's kind of the same thing. Like it honestly depends on your quarterback.
For sure.
And kind of what you want to do. And then the other part I broke this down to is just like team building style. So like, for example, I think this year running is way more important than it was in Madden 20. Like having a good running back actually matters this season, and having a good running game. So I put that emphasis on the running back position because we can kind of see teams that, like Cody, like the whole reason his team was good last year was because of wiring. Not saying solely because of him. Like Cody had a good squad, obviously, but Wyrick leading the league in rushing definitely helped out that offense a whole bunch.
Yeah. So I said multiple power run. I think is the most versatile one, but like you said, it just depends on the style that you want to build. If you want to build around a running quarterback, then a spread definitely is the best way to go. If you want to build around, like Cody, many running backs, then a multiple power or some kind of running back focused one is the way to go.
So. Yeah, the other thing I had down was running QBs are once again OP. So if you're going to get a QB, whether it's in free agency or in the draft, I would definitely say get a scrambler or an improviser. Because I mean, even like in Madden 20, I would say a bunch of, like, I know I had a field general QB at one point. I think a lot of us did, and those were still viable. But this year, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like you kind of need a running QB this year to have any sort of success.
Yeah, for sure. So, the next question is, if you could improve something in the league, what would it be and why? And for me, I'd just like to see more people involved, more people creating content. It's been a lot better this year, but especially when the league starts to slow down in February, March, if we get people making that content, it just makes the league feel more alive.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it's almost like there's almost 2 different Madden seasons for us. It's like, it's kind of during the NFL season, so whenever Madden comes out, so August to like February when the Super Bowl ends, and then like March, April, we still enjoy it, and then the summer rolls around and we're all kind of like ready for next Madden. By that time, most of the OG players are retired and gone, so it's all your generated players. But the thing that I said, I think the content thing is great, and I think right now it's in a good spot. Like, we definitely have a lot of people making good content.
Right.
But it would be great to have even more people doing that. The other thing I said was I would love to do eventually what AGML does and have like a weekly stream on the main Twitch account. So have like the Nflgm game of the week or something.
Yep, I agree. That's always been a thing I've liked.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about AGML is that, and some other things too. But like, that's the main one. I was like, I would love to implement that. Even if it was like, we just take the Monday night game on the actual schedule and do that, and have like our own version of like, quote, Monday Night Football or something. I feel like that would be really fun.
I'm gonna shout out AGML. My running back over there just ran for 250 yards and caught another 70 with 4 touchdowns. No big deal.
Sure.
So, yeah, no big deal. Don't worry about it, guys.
My running back in AGML can barely average 3 yards a carry, and he's superstar depth. He's a freaking bum.
So the 6th question from Lee. Thanks again, Lee, for sending in so many.
Yeah, for sure.
Early predictions for offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and rookie of the year. And I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Okay. So I forgot to do rookie of the year, so I'll make it up on the fly. For
This is my least favorite strike. Oh.
Oh, this is awful. So for AFC Offensive Player of the Year, I chose Drew Lock. Like I said before, he's leading.
Okay.
Yeah, he's leading the conference in passing by like I think at least 100 yards. So I really just like this Colts team. Like I said, I know they're 1-3, but I think they're much better than what their record shows. Yeah, so that's my first one. Who do you have for this spot?
I have Wyrick, Thurman Wyrick.
Wow.
And I don't think it's particularly close. And I hate to be that guy, but I think Wyrick is just head and tails above every other player in the league. And it's crazy how good that legacy player came out.
Yeah, I regret everything.
But yeah, Wyrick already has, I think, something like 400 yards rushing, and I think it was like something like 250 yards receiving and a couple touchdowns.
Right, and I looked at him, and part of the reason I didn't pick Wyrick is because that Madden, like, for those type of awards, Madden hardly ever chooses a running back.
Right, for sure.
So that was me partly thinking, okay, I know Madden's probably not picking a running back, and the other part was like, I actually think Drew Lock is deserving of that award. But I mean, if Wyrick gets it, I mean, it's not a rip-off or anything. Yeah.
So who do you have down for the NFC Offensive Player? And I'll be honest, I only did like overall, but I know who I like in the NFC, so I can make a pick.
Okay, so I chose Russell Wilson.
Okay.
He's having a really good year so far, over 1,300 yards passing, which is second in the NFC. And I'm dead. And over 120 rushing yards so far this year. He's completing 70% of his passes. I mean, he's just having a really, really nice year, and it makes it even more impressive that Russ traded away Lockett, and so he's doing this with, Metcalf and a bunch of
Tylen Wallace. Tylen
Wallace
has been very very good.
Like, a lot of his offense from last year, including the offensive line and Greg Olsen, are gone, and Wilson's having as good of a year. You could argue he's having a better year up to this point. So that's who I gave it to.
I would go with Ronald Jones if I was picking I think he's going to end up with something like 1,600 to 1,800 yards rushing. Yeah. Like, honestly.
Yeah. Again.
And I think
same thing for me.
And running
if a
running backs. Right. If it's a court, which it probably will be, it will probably be Russell Wilson. For my defensive player of the year, I went Byron Jones because I'm a homer in the AFC.
Sure.
He's got 2 interceptions. Not great, but he's got a touchdown return, and he has a bunch of tackles for losses for a corner. So, in the NFC, I would go with Hutchinson because I think he's going to end up with a ton of sacks, and I think that's going to end up putting him over the edge.
I like it. So in the AFC, I actually have Samson Ebukam for the Steelers.
Okay.
He's really good.
He was another guy.
Yeah,
he's another guy I had who I thought about for a surprise, a breakout player this year.
Yeah. I have Samson. That's another guy that the Steelers brought in. I think he traded for him in the offseason, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But
yeah, he traded for him. Yep, that makes sense. What about in the NFC?
So in NFC, I also have Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And I think this one's a no-brainer, to be honest. Yep. Like, especially as a rookie leading the NFC in sacks, and it's by, he has one more sack than anybody in second place. So I think that, especially for a rookie on a decent Eagles team, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they're okay. Like I wouldn't call them like a special team or anything, but his his development has definitely been, I think, the biggest surprise so far this year.
Yeah, for sure. So rookie of the year in the NFC, I have Hutchinson and Trevor or Brock Purdy. Sorry, I switched it. I did have Trevor Lawrence, and then I looked at Brock Purdy closer, and I was like, oh god, it's got to be Purdy.
Yeah, that would be my two as well.
And in the AFC, I think it's probably going to be De'Aaron King and Jalen Twyman for Cody.
Yeah, I think so. And once again, I can't believe Cody got Twyman where he did.
The other guy I could bring up for AFC is Quincy Roach for
Yep.
me.
Yep,
But
for sure.
he's behind Tymon right now in sacks, and
Yeah.
so it's just it's about where they are right now.
Yeah, I like those two picks. I could see if the Texans QB doesn't miss a lot of time and De'Aaron King kind of falls off, I could see maybe the Texans QB maybe making a late season push for the award.
He will be back. He will be back in week 7, so it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Sure.
So the last question that Lee has is, who do you have winning the Super Bowl, and who will be picking first? So I'm going to start with who's going to be picking first, and I think it's the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a bad team.
Yep.
And I think bringing back Kirk Cousins doesn't make them any better.
Nope, for sure.
So
that makes sense.
So that's my pick for, they could lean on Dalvin Cook and Thielen and Jefferson, but I still don't think it's enough that they're going to win games in that really revamped NFC North. So
yeah, that's a good one. I have the Giants.
Okay. Also a team I had up there.
Yeah, this roster is terrible. There's not a really good way to put it. Like they're built for the number 1 pick.
Right.
I know they have Barkley, and we have a question about him kind of later on. But
yeah, a question that I was like, oh man, did you not look at the contract? But okay.
Yeah, like there's just not a lot of avenues for this team to get better, and they should be trying to lose as many games as possible. But I think it's going to be the Giants. And for my Super Bowl, I've reluctantly picked the Patriots.
As did I.
So
I didn't want to.
The big one for me is his biggest competition, and I don't know. I feel like this year the NFC is a little more competent. Like I could the 49ers are really good, the Seahawks are really good. There are teams that could challenge Cody, but I think the biggest thing for me is that the Packers have really kind of fallen off a little bit. Like with Jordan,
I know they're undefeated, but I don't think they're as good as they were last year.
No, and Jordan Love has been fine, but I just don't trust this Packers team. I think they were probably the biggest threat to Cody.
Yep. All right. So then the next up, we have Cody send in a couple questions. Who is an unexpected player to be moved before the deadline? I'll let you answer this first, because I'll let you answer it first.
You want to guess who I picked?
I don't. But I have a strange feeling it might be the same player that I picked.
Okay. So, I chose Aaron Donald.
Oh, okay. Well, then no, it's not the same player. Okay, woo.
So, my reason being for this is that Corb is, he's 1-3. And I did this stupid jumping part. Corb is 1-3.
It's alright, I think I just missed it. No, I didn't. It's down there. Okay. Whew.
He's starting a bunch of young players, and I just don't think Corb's timeline really matches up with Donald's timeline. And
Right.
I still feel like you could get an absolute freaking haul for Donald
Yeah,
at
I
this
agree.
point in the game. So if I was him, I would maybe not put him officially on the block, or maybe I would, but like at least like send some feelers out there. Like,
Yeah, maybe
hey,
ask around.
like, what would you be willing to give up for Donald if he was quote unquote available? So I chose Donald. Who did you choose?
I put Tua.
Okay, I almost put Tua, and I was like, nah, he's gonna be like, nah, it's Tua time.
Tua saved his job the last couple weeks because I was very close to moving on to Kyle Trask, and not just because he has the same name as me, but because Tua was just really struggling early in this season.
Right.
Just a lot of bonehead plays. He's turned it around a little bit the last few weeks, so.
Maybe
But
the new difficulty will help Tua out as well.
yeah, but if it's somebody else, I think it might be Ed Oliver. Might end up, and I know that Sean has said you can ask about him, but he wants a lot for him. But I think somebody in a position who thinks that they have a challenge or a chance to challenge Cody, who can, give up the picks. Maybe a Will and Green Bay can package something together to send enough picks and whatnot to.
Yeah, with Will, I mean, he already has Kenny Clark. He's paying Kenny Clark a lot of money, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I think if you bring in Ed Oliver, you do what Chris did with him
and play him
last
in.
Madden, and you move him to end.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But so those are just. But I really like the Donald one. I didn't even think about it with how poor Corb's team has been doing so far. I think it's a real chance that he may have to move on from Aaron Donald if he doesn't want to end up with 6 wins again.
Right. And you could also go. I feel like Corb's team is. You could also argue he should go the other way. Like he should have beat me week 1. Like my team came back from 17 down, I think, to win.
Damn it.
So you could make the argument
that
no, Corb should.
This guy just over here fighting this person, not realizing he needs to throw these things at him. I think he is.
I don't know. Winston's trying to eat a piece of cookie cake, and I'm trying to get it from him, so I'm just standing here.
Okay. So, and then Cody's second question: who is an unexpected buyer and an unexpected seller at the deadline?
Okay. So, buyer for me, I chose the Jags.
Okay.
My reason being, Blair has kind of not gone all in for this year, but he's definitely made more of an effort to be good now in the short term. Bringing Cam, signing that, I forget his name, the older safety to a 4-year deal. So
Anthony
he definitely,
Harris.
yeah, so he definitely wants to win. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he tried to make another move for, I don't know, maybe another receiver or somebody on the defensive side of the ball, but I think he wants to win. So I'm choosing the Jags.
I put the Broncos.
Good one. Okay.
They're 2-2 right now.
Right.
They're right in the thick of it in that really weird AFC West.
Yeah.
So I thought for sure that that's somebody who could make some moves. He's got lots of picks. He's got lots of young guys who maybe aren't good enough. He could be a guy who could package up people and go get an Ed Oliver.
Can you imagine Ed Oliver and Bradley Chubb? Oof.
Yeah, so that's definitely a possibility there. My seller was the Bills. I don't think any of us expected the Bills to be that bad coming into the season.
No, definitely not.
Even starting De'Aaron King, I still thought they were going to be, fighting for a wild card spot. But it's pretty clear that Sean wants to lose now.
Yeah.
So
mine might really surprise you. I chose the Chiefs.
That doesn't surprise me being 0-3. I can see if the Chiefs lose a few more games. it's time to move on from some of these guys who,
Yeah.
you
For
know,
me, it was like their offense has been bad, and that could just be like sliders or their schedule, or maybe change the playbook. Like I don't know what, maybe I don't know what if any changes Paul has made to his team since the end
right,
of last season. But I wouldn't be surprised if not. And let me make this clear: not a tear down. I'm not calling him to trade, Holmes or
right.
anything. But like
No,
maybe try to trade like offense for defense and try to get maybe a little more balanced.
or draft picks. He's another guy who I could see wanting in on Ed Oliver, a young defensive stud that he could build around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so that was it from Cody. Now, Ryan sent in a few questions. Which team do you see making the biggest leap this year? I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay. So I chose the Steelers.
Okay.
Um, this team was not that great last year, and they made a bunch of offseason moves to bring in defensive guys. And now they're one of the better teams in the AFC. I think if you want to pick, like, who's a sleeper in the AFC that could challenge Cody, I think the Steelers are right up there.
For sure, I agree with that.
So I chose the Steelers.
I picked the Panthers and Kevin.
Okay.
They were so bad last year.
Yeah,
and he
that's
made
fair.
so many moves to just get better.
Yeah.
So okay, everybody dead. I'll finish this off real quick.
Yeah, I got thrown off.
So yeah, I picked the Panthers. I thought that was I think that he's got a real chance to win that division and put up a lot of be a real threat in the playoffs. So
Yeah, that's a good one. What do you make this year's draft class? Any positions of strength or weaknesses jump out at you?
You skipped one.
Which one
Yeah. Which
regressing.
team do you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you see regressing the most this season? I have 3 that I picked.
Okay, I just chose one.
Picked,
but go off.
I picked the Cardinals,
Mm.
the Titans,
Mm-hmm.
and the Bengals.
Really?
Yeah, I like a lot of the things that Sorelio's done. I just 1-3, and he hasn't played a particularly tough schedule so far.
That's fair.
Um,
So I chose the Bills.
I went. I wanted to be like a playoff team so I just picked playoff teams. But the Bills definitely, they were a borderline playoff team this last year, and now they're not going to smell the playoffs this season.
Right, for sure. The Cardinals were almost my pick, but this team is just too talented, especially on defense. So
and I'm hoping that I'm wrong on the Cardinals because I love Roy's team. So I'm hoping that they turn it around.
Yeah.
And the Titans, it's a new owner, a new GM, so
right, and
things are going to be different.
Yeah, they seem to kind of want to try to head in the other direction. Like I know he just
Right.
put Von Miller on the block, so
Yeah.
which I hate because I loved all the moves that Nathan made, and it looks like it's going in the opposite direction, which sucks for me as a fan of this version of the Titans, but I get it.
Yep, I understand. So now, what do you make of this year's draft class? Any positions of strength or weaknesses jump out? It's early, so I've only done a little bit of scouting.
Mm-hmm.
But the front 4 looks like it could be really strong in this class. Every single one that I've scouted from the first round still had a first round grade on him. And a couple of guys in the second round still had second round grades. So I think if this is the year you need defensive tackles or defensive ends, this could be a great year to need that.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of said the same thing. I haven't, done a whole lot of scouting just because we've only been to do we've only been able to do
3.
like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yep.
But I just said that, obviously this class as a whole isn't going to be as good as last year's class since it's a generated class.
Yep.
But I'm with you. I
Uh,
think if you need front four on the defensive line, I think this could be a good Madden generated class.
And so I may ask Sean if I can, or I may ask Sean if he can post it in here. He did, I think it was 6 or 7 draft classes, and he broke down like what each round had in it,
Yeah.
as far as like overalls, and so I may ask him to post it in here just because it's a really good breakdown of draft classes and what you can expect. So, but yeah,
I love this strike. Side note.
Yeah, whose draft class looks the strongest a few weeks into the season? For me, it's the Lions and the Niners.
No, it's your turn to skip one.
Oh, which rookie? Ah, damn it! Which rookies have impressed you during these first couple weeks?
I'll let you go.
I have two. I have 2 for good reasons, and I have 1 for a really bad reason.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I have Hutchinson and Hutchinson and Riddler.
Okay.
Hutchinson, obviously didn't expect him to have 7.5 sacks in 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And Riddler to have a 4-0 touchdown to interception ratio, even in 2.5 games, but also have something like 200 yards rushing was very impressive for me. So, and then my disappointment is Rondell Moore has been one of the worst looking receivers that I have ever seen in a Madden. So
that's not what you want.
No, he's, a 91 speed and he doesn't run away from linebackers. So I'm a little concerned. I'm hoping that the drop to All-Pro really helps him out.
Right.
He's still been the second best receiver I drafted, but that more speaks to how bad the other ones have been.
Who's your first one? Who's the best?
Daz Newsome. Newsome has been the best receiver for. And then I'll throw in I didn't have them on there, but Drake Jackson and Wyatt Davis haven't given up a sack between the 2 of them yet.
Oh wow,
for the Dolphins.
Impressive.
But yeah, go ahead. Who were your surprises?
So I didn't.
Who impressed you?
I didn't choose like any ones for bad reasons, just because I still think it's a super small sample size. So
right. I was just being salty about.
Yeah, for sure. So I chose Derek King here. I had Hutchinson, like you did. Jalen Twyman as well. I also had Trevor Lawrence, even though he's only completing 59% of his passes and has 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He still has the most passing yards out of this rookie class, and he's doing it with a Lions pass catching group that I wouldn't call great. And he doesn't have any good running back, so it's really been on Trevor Lawrence to carry this Detroit offense. So I'm giving him credit there, even though the stats when you first look at it don't look ideal. And then the last one I have, I'm just I chose Marvin Wilson, my defensive tackle. Like, this dude's just been an absolute monster. Already has 6 sacks and a pick 6 on. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm giving him a shout out. And that's all the ones that I had.
Okay. Well, now to the question that I wanted. Whose draft class looks the strongest a few weeks in? I picked the Lions and the Niners.
Okay, yeah.
Purdy puts them over the top. I'm going to give a special shout out to the Seahawks because Tylan Wallace has been really, really good this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Purdy, Sewell, those guys just, that 1-2 punch at the top of the draft class just makes this class look so much better. If he didn't get anything out of anybody else, he would still have a top 10 class,
Yeah. If we redrafted tomorrow, I have to imagine that the Bears don't trade down and just take Purdy at 4, right?
I would think so, knowing how good he can be.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, shoot, you could
and
even
then
make an argument that I should have taken him at 3 and let Trey Lance fall, to be honest.
right, right.
But
And then the Lions, they've got Lawrence, and Lawrence has been really good.
yeah,
Their Waddle's been pretty good for them. He made a lot of really smart pickups that are gonna pay off down the road.
yeah. So I had a few teams just because I enjoyed shouting out guys who I think did a good job with drafting. So I had the 49ers, like you said. I also have the Lions, like you said. I also have the Bills, specifically, pretty much specifically because of De'Aaron King, finding that
Yeah,
guy late in the draft. I also had you on there because I like the amount of picks that you got. I
yep,
still like. I think Moore and Najee Harris, who we talked about before the podcast, I still think are going to be good pieces. Uh,
for
I
sure.
I put myself on there, not trying to toot my
Yeah,
own horn that much, but like I also had a lot of picks, and like Marvin Wilson looked like a sure thing. Trey Lance has looked like he's looked good. ETN looks good, so I'm excited where my team is headed. I also have the Eagles on here with Hutchinson,
yeah,
and I also had the Patriots. I think you have to shout out
yeah.
Cody for getting Wyman, even though Wyman fell to him, late in the draft. Cody still did a really good job. So that's the teams that I had. Sure.
I got a request from Cody.
His baby's
All
trying to
right.
sleep.
Yeah, my bad, Cody. I had it down at 30, but it was probably still a little loud because Destiny's kind of a loud game.
Sure is.
Um, all right. I pulled out of my questions, so I gotta get back to where.
You're good. The ogre's dead, So take your time.
Okay. Which teams do you think are one piece away from competing for a Super Bowl, and what are those teams missing? So I'll
Uh,
let you go ahead and get this one first.
okay. So I only chose one team for this.
Okay.
Uh, so I chose the Bears.
Okay.
I like the Bears defense a whole lot. I think their offense is pretty good, but they desperately need a running back. Desperately. Like David Montgomery, I know they drafted Zaire, I think Zaire White of Georgia. And of course they
Yep.
have Tariq Cohen, but they're just not getting the job done. And if he had a really good running back, like that takes so much pressure off of Minshew, and it just really helped the entire offense. So I chose the Bears, and if I had to choose another one, I guess I would choose the Jags because I feel like they're I think they're a fringe wild card team at this point in the year. But I think if
Yeah.
they got another piece on offense, I feel like that would definitely, boost their chances, especially with the Titans and Colts struggling out of the gates.
For sure. So for mine, I went Panthers. I think they need a corner, like a
Hmm.
true number one corner,
Oh,
not Dante Jackson,
that's interesting.
not
Okay.
not Jeremy Chin. Um,
Okay.
I think that if he would have made the trade for Trey White, I think I would say that the Panthers are the consensus team to win in the NFC.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
if Kevin had the picks to get Trey White, but
he didn't.
yeah.
But you might be able to get Byron Jones if you come with the right price, Kevin. Just saying.
Oh, boy.
Um,
Stop it.
it's not gonna happen, Kevin. But and then I have the Ravens. I think the Ravens are another team that needs a dominant running back.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
I like Mark Ingram. He's fine. I think he's missed the boat on getting J.K. Dobbins to be that guy
I
just by
agree.
not starting him last year and still not starting him this year. I think you've missed the boat on making J.K. Dobbins that stud. Um, so yeah, I think that the Ravens with a really good running game could be a team that could slow Cody down enough to they beat Cody in the regular season last year. I think it's a team that could definitely beat him in the playoffs if they had the right running back.
Yeah, I agree. I almost had the Ravens as well. I just look back at it and you know what? To me, Lamar plus whatever Mark Ingram is now at this point in the league is like good enough at running back.
Yeah, for sure. Like
But I
I
get what
just
you're
like
saying.
I just like I look at that team and I'm like, think if they would have gotten even a Matt Breida, to give something different
Right.
than Mark, a 96 speed guy.
Or like doomsday for the rest of the league if they had got, I don't know if they had the cap for this, but if they were the ones that had gotten Aaron Jones in free agency.
Right, something like that. So those were
Damn it.
all of Ryan's questions. Now we get Vince. Um, who has a top 5 roster for of the future 5 years out? And I put 4 teams down that I think could all have top 5 rosters. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. I have 4 teams as well, and
Oh, okay.
uh, I had 2 that were like fringe. I didn't want to put 6 because that felt a little much.
Right. I have
Um,
one that I think is obvious, and that's why I didn't put him on there, just because it's more to do with who their GM is than what they have on the
oh, I
roster for
like
5 years.
this. Yeah, I like
So,
this. Okay, so
so
I'm actually going to put 5. I've decided. I had 1. I actually had your team on the fringe, and I'm going to put them in
okay,
there. The only reason being they were on the fringe is I just have no idea what the hell Tua is going to look like 5 seasons from now.
right,
Like,
right,
is he going to be on your team? Like, is he going to be the best QB in the division? Like, with Tua, you just don't know. So I have
right.
your squad, the Dolphins. I have my squad as well, just because I would just
Yep.
the amount of picks I have over the next couple of years. I think my team has really high potential. Um, I also have the 49ers and the Broncos and Patriots
Okay.
are is rounding out my list. The Pats, seems pretty obvious to
Uh,
me. Watson's going to be there. Gilmore is going to start regressing, if not after this season, after next season, but he'll still be really good for a few
right.
years. And then Cody will always, make whatever moves necessary.
Yep.
Um,
And Cody was my 5th guy, like
yeah,
based off the GM. You know.
yeah.
Um. So I have. Let me. I have the Lions with Trevor Lawrence. I think that's got the makings of, because I think they're still going to be pretty bad this season. I still think he's going to end up with a top 10 pick.
Yep, I do
So
too.
I think he can. I think he can shore up that defense a little bit more. Um, I have the. I have your team. I also have the Broncos,
Mm,
the Patriots, and the Dolphins. So I just swapped the lines, and the Niners are right there. I think the Niners also like have a really good, because he's another one here. I could make the case that Chris will make any move necessary to keep his team in the hunt.
yeah, and Chris, just all his best players are young. Like he doesn't
Right.
really have a lot of those. Like he has Richard Sherman, but like that's really the only like
I just worry that he's not going to hit on corners, and that secondary is going to continue to be a problem, because there's not a single player in that secondary that I would want on my team,
that's fair.
including Richard Sherman. Like,
The Lions,
that's my one concern with them.
yeah, the Lions were on the fence to me. That was my other fringe team.
Yep.
Just with I think Vince has done a really good job with the offense. I think he still
Yeah.
needs a running back. His receivers are fine, like you said. Like he has Galladay and Waddle. Like that's a good 1-2 punch.
Right.
It's just the defense for me. Like I think that
It's
defense it needs
it's
a lot
worrying.
of work. Like it needs a
It
lot of
does.
work. So
And yeah, for sure. We didn't talk a lot about the Broncos, but I think Justin Fields is going to be really, really
yeah,
good.
no.
Eh,
Let's talk.
eh,
Let's talk about the Broncos. I think Serrano's done a good job with them. We've talked about their young receiving core multiple
right.
times now. Fields was the pick at number 2, and I think he's going to be good. Um, he doesn't have great numbers this season so far, but we're 4 games in. Like, it could be a simple playbook change or scheme change or something. But
Right. I
I
think Toronto needs to get in there and look at that scheme because it's clearly not working for Fields.
yeah, the you could also make the case for him. The defense is also worrisome. He has
Yeah.
Bradley Chubb, but and um, the safety, Simmons, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Justin
So
Simmons.
yeah, thank you. So that's the only two really good young defensive pieces he has.
Right.
But I think just with that three-headed monster on offense with Fields, Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy, that I think it's way more likely that offensive unit develops into a top 10 group in the league. So I think just with that, that's why I have them in the top 5.
So for me, I agree with everything you said, and I think that there are some pieces on that defense that are playing a little better than their rating. But
Mhm.
he's another team who I don't think unless he makes some moves, he's not going to be in the playoffs this year. So he'll probably end up with a top 15 pick probably, so he can add some guys on defense.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, so I really think that there are a lot of good young teams in in the league right now that could end up being really good in 5 years.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I'm excited to see which first round picks from the custom class that stay with their teams their whole career. And there can be some
Right,
that were drafted pretty high that just don't pan out and are going to switch
for sure.
teams. So I'm excited, kind of like how in Madden 19, I think it was Haskins that stayed on the Dolphins. Wait, didn't you
Yeah,
have Haskins?
no, I did not.
Hmm.
Uh, it was the Dolphins. Haskins won like almost every MVP on the Dolphins, and
Yeah, it was stupid.
was the god of that league. No, I traded out of the number 1 pick in 19. I was the Bucks, and I had the number 1 pick, and I
That's right.
traded it out to the Falcons, who took Ed Oliver. And I'd like to say that pick did not come back to bite me in the ass because I won like 7 or 8 straight divisions while the Falcons were at the bottom. So,
Yes, sir.
so I, um,
So
so
this next question, I actually initially skipped because I wanted to go back and look at the league and I forgot. So this question is SimGod player ranking, like what players are punching above their overall. So
uh, I just went with Purdy because I looked and there wasn't a lot of guys who were just, Ronald Jones is another guy who he's like a low 80s and he's leading the league in rushing.
yeah,
You could have you could have made the case for Wyrick last year because he was
yep,
a
for
mid
sure.
70s player, but I think Purdy being a 74 overall quarterback with a 6-to-1 ratio is just it's unheard of, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's a good one.
So,
I'll roll with Purdy as well, simply because I forgot this question.
so who has the most fun team in the league in your opinion?
Okay,
Um,
so for me for this one, I think this is a lot of it is based on just your personal opinion of your definition of fun. Because
yeah,
I love watching bad teams who score a lot of points. So for me, that's a lot of fun. But I know what they're probably asking is which good team is the most fun to watch, and so I chose the Panthers for this one.
okay,
I love Kevin's team. I love watching Baker Mayfield. Last Madden, Baker was not, he was fine, he wasn't great. But this Madden, he seems a little better. But the weapons that Kevin has is just ridiculous. And his defense is really fun too. I know you said they need a number 1 corner, but I feel like you can make the case that Dante Jackson is one of those guys that plays above his overall in that number
yeah.
1 spot. So I chose the Panthers. Who did you have?
I had two. I had the 49ers,
Okay, it's a good one.
and the Patriots. I think
Okay,
watching that Patriots defense, like, is just a thing of magic. Like,
yeah.
it's, you know, it's just like twice yesterday, Tua threw slant routes, and before I could even like yell at him not to throw it, Stephon Gilmore had picked it off. um,
Yeah, the
so
the Pats are on my list as well, but I
and,
just didn't really
and
want to
you
give
know,
Cody the satisfaction. So
right, and the Niners, I just think Chris has built such a good team.
yeah,
That that front four just rushing the quarterback all the time. Um, just
it's such a luxury.
linebackers, linebackers who are just amazing at forcing turnovers. So yeah, those were my two, and those were the Vince's questions. So thanks, Vince.
Like
Um,
going back to Cody's team for just a quick second, I know we seem to talk about him a lot, but what a luxury it is to like not only have what I consider the best secondary in the league, but hey, you can also get to the quarterback with four. So not only that, you can just drop seven into coverage every play and like
right.
just not even worry about it. Like
Well, and then when
that's
you
such
do,
bullshit.
and then when you do blitz, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop you because your guys are double teaming two or three really good pass rushers.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
no, it's it sucks being in Cody's division again.
I'm sure.
I'm hoping it doesn't take me 5 seasons to get a win against Cody like it did last Madden. Um, but moving on to Will, who sent in a few questions. He said, "What is your early Super Bowl matchup?"
Okay, I want you to go
So I'll let you.
first because I'm
Oh,
super
okay.
interested.
I have Patriots and Niners.
Okay.
That's I think those are the two best teams in the AFC and NFC.
Yep.
And this Madden, it just doesn't seem like the good teams lose to teams that they shouldn't.
No, it's not like last Madden where if you kind of want to be the 5 or 6 seed.
Right.
Yeah, this one seemed.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So who do you have?
So I also
Curious.
have the 49ers and Patriots, and
Okay.
I thought I was being really cute with that pick.
No, not at all. That is 100% what I thought too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna apologize to everybody watching me be terrible at Crucible right now.
Same.
Sorry, I'm real bad at but they're not having to watch you like directly. They can see you die every now and then. They're literally just watching me get murdered. So,
Did you everybody else doesn't
so
pull out a shotgun?
yeah. Okay, so will the Cardinals and Packers see each other again this season?
Hmm.
I'll let you
Uh,
go first on this one.
yeah. So I said yes when they both go on team
Oh,
vacations to Cabo.
okay. I said no. They're not going to, unless for some reason, unless somehow Roy's team turns it around and ends up in the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to meet each other.
Yeah.
And even then, I think that it wouldn't be a first round matchup because I don't think that that's going to happen. So I said no. Like, I know that they faced each other last year in the playoffs, and it was a really, really good game in the NFC Championship. Um, but yeah, it's not going to happen this season.
Yeah.
Um,
So moving on to Corpse and then a couple of questions,
nope,
I
we
think.
still have
We
we
still have
still
one
have
more.
one from.
Oh, sorry, Will.
Yeah, it's about Corb's team though.
Oh, that's okay.
With Drew Brees hitting the bench in LA, do the Rams have a chance at making noise in the playoffs? Should they make it with Hurts leading them? I'll go ahead and answer this. No, because they're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
They're the fourth best team in that division right now. Even with the Cardinals struggling, I'd still rather have the Cardinals roster than the Rams roster.
Yep.
Oh, you're on my team.
Why will this blue guy die? Yeah.
So yeah,
So
no, they don't.
yeah, I also said no. I said they won't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
And it's really nothing against Corb or what he's doing with his team. I like the move from Drew Brees to Jalen Hurts. We talked about it
Ah, God damn it.
on the season preview podcast. I said that I think he should start Hurts to begin with. So I like this move, and Corb should not be focusing on trying to make the playoffs this season. He should be working on trying to dev Hurts and trying to get some of his young guys as much playing time as possible.
Yeah, I also don't like the move to from Denzel Mims to Michael Gallup because I don't think it's enough to make that
I
big a
would agree.
difference with your team.
Agreed.
Um, so, so now we can move on to Corbs. What high-ranked team will struggle and not make the playoffs that made it last year? I'll let you go first with this because I
Okay.
think we will have different answers. I think this will be one where we disagree.
So I said the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I didn't have the Chiefs on there because I think they're bad this season.
Yeah. So really, I chose the Chiefs because of the slow start. I know we said small sample size, don't overreact, but that division's actually not terrible this year. And really, it's like Patrick Mahomes is 29th in the league in passing yards per game at just under 180, which is just bizarre. So I don't know, again, if Paul needs to look at what scheme and playbook he's running or what, but something has to change for this team to turn around. Because if this offense is going to struggle with the way his defense played last year and is continuing to play at the beginning of this year, he has no shot. No shot.
Right. So I put two. I put the Titans and the Cardinals.
Okay.
Titans aren't making it. We
Nope.
basically laid it out earlier. They're going a different direction than that, which I think is a bad move in that division. Um, I'm hoping that I'm wrong with the Cardinals. Small sample size, but man, they've just been so bad with the changes that we are like, not even changes, like just with the way things have gone this season. They've just been so bad.
Yep.
I hope that they can turn it around, but
Yep. I'm with you. I almost put the Cardinals, but again, we mentioned it earlier. This team is really good,
yep.
and with that, I think they get that 7 seed, that extra wild card spot that was added this season. I think they'll be in that spot. So I think they barely make it in, but I would be sad if the Cardinals were in the playoffs. But yeah, the Titans pick makes total sense.
Yep. So this is a three-parter, so we'll just break it out. What team do you think had the worst offseason? I think the Vikings had the worst offseason.
Okay.
They didn't do anything to get particularly better, and they didn't do anything like that, makes you confident that they're making changes for the future.
So I chose the Texans.
That's also I
I
couldn't
just
do it because they're winning.
I
So I
know.
was like, I guess they're doing okay.
Yeah. I thought about that and I was like, you know what? No, I hated the move. I hated it in the moment. I still hate it. I don't care that their 60 overall quarterback is leading them to a 3-1 record. Like I didn't like it, but the Vikings pick makes sense as well. But yeah, I chose Houston for that reason.
Okay. So then he asked top 5 teams for the future. I get this is pretty much the same question as
Yeah, I didn't answer this part just because it was the same question, so I was just gonna put the same
so
5 I had in before.
yep. Yeah, so I put the same 5. And then what teams didn't do anything to improve in the offseason? And I put the Jets, the Titans, and the Browns.
Really? Okay, we're gonna disagree here. I want to talk about why do you think the Jets didn't do anything to improve?
I don't think I don't think Dak Prescott is an improvement over Sam Darnold right
What
now.
about didn't he also sign Aaron Jones as well?
Man, he hasn't been an improvement over Le'Veon Bell. Like, I just don't think that he did anything that drastically. Like, it's not that he's not a good team. It's just that none of his moves, like, did anything to like. I don't think they're good enough to beat the Patriots. Still, I still think they're
Mm.
probably the fourth or fifth best team in the AFC. It wasn't. It's not an indictment on what Poe did or didn't do. It's just that
Well,
in that division, you're not going to win this season. You
yeah.
should have been signing Aaron Jones and trading for Dak Prescott and trading away picks for Dak Prescott, even if it wasn't like big picks. It just doesn't do anything for me as far as like making me more confident in what the Jets are doing. But
Mm.
I could see how like the players are better, I guess, but they're 3-1 and they got blown out by the Patriots.
Yeah. That's fair. We'll agree to disagree on that on the
Yeah,
Jets.
I mean
Like
that's
I see what you're saying. I just think I like Dak a little more than Sam Darnold, and I think Aaron Jones has played better than Le'Veon Bell. But I get
uh
it.
Le'Veon Bell was barely on the outside of our all pro teams last year, and at this point, Aaron Jones isn't on pace to be on one of those teams.
That's fair.
Like to
Who
even
are
smell
who are
it.
your other two?
The Titans and the Browns.
Yeah, I'll agree to those. So my three that I had were I put the Giants, the Texans, and the Raiders.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
mean, I was thinking like, yeah, obviously there are a few bad teams that are still gonna be really bad and didn't do anything that like makes me confident in them, but I just wanted to go a different direction with guys who I thought like should have been either A, making the push to be really good, or B, like just tearing it down. And the Browns are still good enough to like win a few games, was my
yeah,
thinking. But I agree. The Raiders did nothing.
yeah, I know. I'm still feeling the heat off the absolute fire you spit the last time we talked about the Raiders.
Yeah,
So
maybe that's why. Like, maybe I just in my subconscious I was trying to ignore the Raiders because I didn't want to get angry. Because now I'm thinking about it again, and I'm like, God damn it, the Raiders didn't do anything to get better. They're still really bad, and I still don't have confidence that Nolsta's gonna make a pick that makes them better.
yeah,
Um,
okay, we'll move away from the Raiders. Who do you think the most improved player will be this year in the NFC and AFC?
uh, so I have Sam Darnold in the
Hmm.
NFC.
Okay.
He's thrown 5 touchdowns and no interceptions before the advance, and I feel bad because no other one. Our new Cowboys owner, shout out to him coming over from AGML, where he built a pretty good Rams team last year. Um,
Jeez.
um, but he got screwed out of like a 44-6 win against uh whoever he played yesterday. The game
Yeah,
didn't
didn't
save
Zeke had
nine.
like over 200 yards rushing?
Zeke had 221 yards rushing and a
Jeez.
couple touchdowns, and Darnold had thrown a couple more touchdowns, and so felt bad. That feels bad because that's huge. Those are
Feels
huge
bad, man.
stats that you, yeah. So yeah, I have Sam Darnold. Who did you have in the NFC?
This is another one that I meant to come back and fill in. I forgot. So,
Oh, okay. So my AFC one, and it's gonna sound strange considering I just dogged on this dude in a different.
I swear. If you pick Dak Prescott, I swear to God.
It's not. It's not. It's not. It's Mark Ingram because he was
Okay.
really
Oh,
bad.
wow.
It's
Okay.
because he was really bad last year. He
Okay.
already has as many touchdowns as he did last season.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and he's averaging more yards per carry and more yards per game. Or no, more yards per game, not carry. But so I know it's weird with me saying that he needs to go, but he still needs to go. But he has been the most improved player. It was definitely not going to be Dak Prescott. Dak was really good for Jim last year until the playoffs.
For sure. This
Um,
next one, do you think? Yep. Do you think the Jets will finally beat the Patriots this year? No.
no,
No.
no.
No. Simple
I
answer.
put it.
I do not. I actually said absolutely not, and I was like, is that
I
too
put
harsh?
I put no with about 75 exclamation points. My write up with all the answers, like it goes from this to like I have to scroll down to see the next question. So no, they're not going to. The Patriots are the best team right now, I think, and the Jets don't have the team to beat them.
Nope. So that was easy.
Um, um, so from the Bills, do you think the Bills owner is running his team into the ground? Laughy face, laughy face.
You first.
Uh, I said no. I don't think he's running it into the ground. Uh, so what my entire sentence was no. I think he's building differently than I would with that team, but I don't think he's running it into the ground.
So I said
So
yes.
okay, and I kind of figured you were gonna say it. I wanted to be a little more positive about it because
Yeah.
like if Sorelio's team doesn't turn it around, that ends up being a really good draft pick. Uh, and if you didn't want Trey White on your team, I get it. I guess you know I don't like the move because Trey White is a great corner who can be around for a long time.
Yep.
So
So I said yes, partially because it's not the way I would do it. So,
yeah,
and it's not just because this is my team in real life. If my team did this in real life, I would tear my clothes and wear a paper sack and put dirt on my head and just walk around like
well,
that forever.
well, considering that Josh Allen has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season, I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel pretty safe for this year at least. But what I
Yeah.
talked about was this roster was really ready to win, like in the short term. And I gave an example. I know you don't like Josh Allen, and I agree. Like Josh Allen historically has not been great in Madden, but you've had vets like Matt Stafford just sitting there you could have easily traded for, and your team becomes, I mean, what, at least competing with Pode for the second best in the AFC East. Like they might be even a little better depending on the given day. So,
For sure.
and just
Um,
the extension and trade thing. I wait
yeah,
that
yeah.
I just
I
didn't
don't
like.
understand why it was done. I don't understand why they couldn't just make the trade and then Sorelio signs them to the extension.
Yeah, and then
There
also
must have.
you trade Diggs to
It's
Cody, and I
that was the one. That was my biggest
ugh,
head scratching move you could have made. Why would you make Cody better? Cody's receivers were okay.
yeah.
They were okay. They weren't anything special. You weren't gonna. Nobody was afraid of the Patriots wide receivers with.
It's like, oh look, here comes Will Fuller as the number
Yeah.
one.
Well,
Oh look, here comes
oh here.
Jamison Crowder. No, it's
Oh
like,
look, N'Keal Harry. Although
yeah.
N'Keal Harry took 168 to the house on me yesterday, so I probably shouldn't speak ill of N'Keal Harry.
Well, your team
Um,
sucks, so
that's true.
so is
Um,
my team. It's okay.
um, all right, so moving on to new Giants user Monique, Phil's brother. Shout out
Monique.
Monique. He's a he's a doctor, so
Oh,
put some respect on his name.
absolutely.
Yeah, Monique won't be around a lot during the day. Just heads up, Phil will have to do a lot of stuff for him, but
So
he asked.
a lot of Chargers Giants trades in the near future.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've never seen them make a trade with each other, so I don't know if they're that close of brothers. Because I'd be ripping my brother off all the time if he was in the league.
For sure.
Um, he asked, "Why are the Giants so bad?"
Oh,
I'll let you go first.
so it's a complicated question, but it's also pretty simple. The short answer is like this Giants roster from the jump wasn't great. Like this team
Right.
wasn't made to compete in the first 3 years, I would say, of Madden. It's like, yeah, you have Barkley and if you could get Daniel Jones depth, then you might have a chance. Darius Slayton is pretty good. Evan Ingram, obviously. Then you have some young guys on defense, Leonard Floyd, whatever. But Zach decided to trade away Daniel Jones, which I'm not going to fault him for, because I didn't mind the move. I get it.
Right.
Um,
I didn't like the move trading Daniel Jones and bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. I thought that was a lateral move at best.
yep, I agree.
So for me, I pointed out some specific reasons. They're starting a 63 overall center and a 67 overall right tackle.
Yep.
Their linebackers are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they have no QB. Of course, they're going to be bad. You're just not. You're not going to be good when you're that weak at so many different positions.
Right. Especially when
So,
you're in a division with two teams in the Eagles and Cowboys that are pretty good.
well, I'm built to attack bad defensive lines.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely.
So his next question is, what can they do to improve? I said they need to find a QB in this draft. That's the first move, and then they need to find some linemen. Zeitler's old. You know, they don't have a center. They don't have a right tackle who's any good. Just go out and get some guys. You're gonna have some cap space. You're gonna be able to make some moves that could improve this team pretty quickly. I mean, their receivers aren't anything special either.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So mine's a little more drastic. So I said he needs to burn the rest of the ground. So I said trade Barkley, trade Slayton, trade pretty much all the good young players you have. This is my reason. It's a good time to be bad in the league because you had a good amount of teams who were terrible last year. Already have franchise QBs, so they're, like myself, like Vince, like Serrano, like Chris. We all have franchise QBs, so our teams are going to be getting better.
Kevin also
Yeah,
will be in that mix.
Yeah, Kevin also. So it's a good time to tank. You can get a whole lot for Barkley. Like, I would argue you could get a team's next 2 years of drafts. Like, when I say that, I mean picks 1, 2, and 3 for 2 years. And I know, like,
Yeah.
you have to sign him to that deal, and that hurts. But if you suck, who cares? Who cares about the cap penalty? That's what I looked at.
He's already signed. That's the problem.
Right.
He's already signed. Zach, before he left, didn't do Monique any favors by agreeing to the scenario that he got from the wheel and paying Barkley and then leaving. So, it may be something that we look at and we figure out, like, hey, that's not really fair to him to have to pay that cap penalty. But I'm not saying that's going to happen. But
right.
So, yeah, which leads us directly, should they pay Barkley or move him for a haul? Well, the last GM already paid him. You still could move him for a haul, though, especially if you move him in the offseason with no...
I would still argue you should move him. I mean, to me,
no.
The Giants are just so bad. And, like, free agency, like, unless you just want to overpay, like, old guys for a year or two to try to make the wild card, like, to me, like, I would rather not do that. I would rather just try to get picks. But I get why you would want to go the other way. But if it was me, I would try to move him.
For sure.
Please don't trade him to Cody.
Yeah, I don't think Cody would be looking for him. I would.
No,
hope.
I don't think so.
But I guess if you could.
Okay, do you think?
I was just gonna.
If he offers Barkley for Wyrick straight up, who says no?
I mean, I probably do. Wyrick's better than Barkley right now.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I think Cody says
no. Yeah, I don't think that Cody does that, but. So his next question is, why did the previous owner get rid of Daniel Jones?
My answer.
Zach said that Zach said that Daniel Jones is trash and that Teddy was the future.
My answer is 2 words. Good question.
Yeah. So
it was weird.
Giants...
It was weird at the time. It's still weird now. I don't get it, but
yeah,
not my
I don't
team.
either. But do the Giants have a shot to compete in the next 5 seasons?
No, absolutely not. No.
I disagree. I said yes, of course. A couple moves could turn this team around. The right moves, like, I don't want to say no to any, because if for some reason there's a sim god scrambling quarterback in this draft who has ideal traits and ideal, stats, it could very easily take this team from the bottom of the barrel to competing in the NFC East. And this next question leads right into that. With how will the Eagles manage their cap? So you did a deep dive into
Oh,
this. I did not.
this is so
So
fun.
I'm gonna pass it off to Sam for this because I didn't look deep enough into it, but because I was like, oh, there's some moves that they could make to get some guys off the books. I didn't realize how bad it was until Sam brought it up before the podcast. So I'll let Sam go ahead and do this.
So this is my favorite question of the night. And looking at it, when I did the deep dive on the Eagles cap, I didn't really know what I was going to find. So just to start out, here are some contracts for the Eagles' top guys. So we'll start with Fletcher Cox. He makes $22.5 million this year, $26 million 22. Brandon Brooks makes $14.6 million this season, $17.5 in 2022, $16.9 in 2023, and $17.2 in 2024. Jason Kelsey, $8.41 million this season, $11.5 next season. Darius Slay, 15.8 this season, 19.8 next season, 20.8 in 2023. Lane Johnson, 16.5 this season, 12.7 next season, 10.4 in 2023, 10.4 in 2024. Carson Wentz, 34.7 this year, 31.3 in 2022, 34.3 in 2023, and 32 in 2024. Last one, Javon Hargrave makes 16.9 this season, 16.9 in 2022. So basically all of the Eagles cap is tied for the next 2 years to these 5 or 6 guys. Right now, currently, they have 250K in cap. Thankfully, Ertz comes off the books. I don't know if he would be able to afford him anyway.
Right.
So this is really bad. Wentz is having a nice season, so that helps. But Slay, Johnson, Kelsey, and Fletcher Cox are all getting pretty old. And a couple of these guys, might retire, in the next 2
Right.
years. Who knows? But this is really putting a pigeonhole on this Eagles roster. And I feel really bad for Ryan because he didn't make any of these contracts. So he's kind of
Right.
just stuck. And I don't know what you do if you're Ryan. You almost, to me, have to ride it out the next 2 years and try to compete and just take a look at 2023 when a lot of these guys come off the books to try to rebuild
Yeah.
them possibly, because to me it's not worth trading one of these guys and taking that cap penalty hit just to try to get picks. To me, it's either you don't trade anybody and try to compete, or try to trade everybody and just take that huge cap penalty, which I don't know he would do that. I don't think Ryan would. I feel like Ryan kind of wants to compete.
Yeah.
So, but it's just bad. Like, it's just bad news bears in Philly.
Yeah, it's definitely not a pretty sight over there in Philly.
So to answer the question, how will the Eagles ever manage their cap? I think the answer is just to ride it out. Like,
yeah.
just next 2 seasons, he's probably going to be good enough to make the playoffs anyway. Just try to add pieces when you can. His draft picks are going to be even more important because that's the only way he can get cheap talent into that system. So, sorry, Ryan, just ride it out. Ride it out, my man.
Yeah, so that was the last of Monique's picks. So now we have one question from Chris. What are the best teams set up to succeed for the future? I mean, this is kind of similar to the 5 years, but I have the Niners, Lions, and Saints down as just a few teams I think are really set up for the future.
Yeah, so I
Even if
have
it's only a couple seasons, I think those teams are all really good.
yeah, I define the future in Madden and in football in general as like a 2 to 3 year window. Or
Right.
you could argue like maybe 3 to 5, but I said like at least the next 3 years. So I have a few teams. I have the 49ers, the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Patriots, and the Saints. A lot of these common factors is that all these teams have young QBs.
Right.
Most of these teams have rookie QBs, so those guys are going to develop quite well, hopefully. But and with in the case with Roy and Kevin and the Ravens, those teams are just really complete, and I really
Right.
like them to compete in the next 3 years. And Chris's team is just young everywhere. Like
Yeah.
Fred Warner, Javon Kinlaw, Purdy, of course. Like his receivers are a little old, but they're signed pretty short term. So all pretty much every team on this list, I feel like could make a run in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think you're right. So then Cody asked another question, a late edition. He asked a little bit before we went live today. What what is the biggest weakness for each of the undefeated teams? So I listed out the undefeated teams. We have the Cowboys, the Pats, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Packers. And I'll take the Packers first of all. Their weakness is the man running the show, Jordan Love. That's the one spot where I think they're weak going into this season. Um, he, all the other playoff teams, except for maybe the Niners, are going to be rolling out established veterans. Guys who are really, really good. So I think that puts him at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, I would agree. I'll go in a similar direction. I'll take the Cowboys and I'll pick Sam Darnold here. Uh, I kind of think that, like, I think Sam Darnold is going to struggle in the playoffs a lot like Dak did, just because Sam Darnold's traits are fine. They're not super great, but to me, he's not enough of an. I don't even. We could have a conversation. I don't even know if he's an upgrade or even a lateral move with Dak Prescott. So
Yeah.
that's who I'm taking.
Yeah, like the Niners, you could make the same argument. It's Purdy, but Purdy's been so good that it doesn't seem like a weakness yet.
Right. I
Um,
agree.
Seahawks, there's some holes on the offensive line, but that didn't hold them back last season.
Yeah, offensive line, I would say maybe he's another one I feel like that could use another corner.
Yeah, corner's another spot where he could definitely use a little improvement. Um, and then the Patriots, I don't think they have a weakness, so that's a really boring one.
Yeah, I think
Um,
is he still starting at like 60 something overall, like right guard?
maybe that's a spot where he's weak. He could
Like
always look to improve.
yeah, like
To
that one
improve.
spot.
But everybody else on his line is so good it makes up for it a little bit.
Bingo. Yeah, I agree.
Um, I'll check and see if we got any other questions in the Slack. Uh,
That
I
was nice. On a 5 kill streak before I died. You don't see that every day.
um yeah, no questions in the chat, so I think that's gonna be it for today, guys. I really, like I said at the beginning, I appreciate all the questions. Great stuff. A lot of in-depth looks at a lot of different things that weren't just specifically teams. A lot of more focus on players, which I think is important.
Yeah.
in Madden, the players are just as important as everything else. So,
No personal questions though.
I mean, Will did ask how we are doing in our families. I just didn't include it because it wasn't in the main bunch of his his uh his
Ouch.
questions. He like wrote it. He wrote it after, so
Okay.
like it wasn't easy to just copy in. Um,
LOL.
but I'm doing good. My family's doing good. I hope
Yep.
you're doing well,
Oh
too,
yeah.
Sam, and you,
We're good.
Will. So,
All right. Well, I guess the next time you'll hear us is we'll do our mid-season review
yeah,
here.
probably Monday or Tuesday. I think it would be.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday because that'll be kind of week 8, week 9. We'll go around the division and take a look, see some storylines, see some that we'll also be able to start looking at the draft stuff like that. So I'll have my tank race episode coming out. I think I'm probably going to do it on Monday. So, but other than that, I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, guys. So, like I said, thanks for coming in. I'll After I finish this, I'll get it up on YouTube as a video. So,
All
um,
right.
yeah. All right, guys. Thanks.
We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.